चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Lord Rishabhadev's teachings, Sloka number 6. Okay, so devotees can adjust with their mobile phones or other things. It is coming up a little late. Okay, evam manah karma vasham prayukte avidyayatmanyupadiyamane Pritirnayavan mayi vasudeve Namuchyate deha yogena tavat Evam mana karma vasham prayukte avidyayatmanyupadiyamane Pritirnayavan mayi vasudeve Namuchyate deva yogena tavat Evam mana karma vasham prayukte avidyayatmanyupadiyamane Pritirnayavan mayi vasudeve Namuchyate deva yogena tavat
एवं मनः कर्म वशं प्रयुक्ते अविद्ययात्मन्यौपदीयमाने प्रीतिर्न यावन्मयि वासुदेवे नमुच्यते देहयोगेन तावत्
एवं मनः कर्म वशं प्रयुक्ते अविद्यात्मने उपदीयमाने प्रीतिर्न यावन्मयि वासुदेवे नमुच्यते देहयोगेन तावत्.
Okay, what do you mean? Evam, thus, manaha, the mind, karma vasham, subjugated by fruitive activities, prayante, acts, avidya, by ignorance, atmani, when the living entity, upadiyamane, discovered, Priti, love, not, yavat, as long as, my Mayi, unto me, Vasudeve, Vasudeva Krishna, not, Muchyate, is delivered, Deha Yogena, from contact with the material body, Tavat, as long. Translation prepared by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Sri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjected to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, here Rishabhadeva is speaking, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. Purport. When the mind is polluted by fruitive activity, the living entity wants to be elevated from one material position to another. Generally, everyone is involved in working hard day and night to improve his economic condition. Even when one understands the Vedic rituals, he becomes interested in promotion to heavenly planets, not knowing that one's real interest lies in returning home back to God. By acting on the platform of fruitive activity, one wanders throughout the universe in different species and forms. Unless he comes in contact with a devotee of the Lord, a Guru, he does not become attached to the service of the Lord Vasudeva. Knowledge of Vasudeva requires many births to understand, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After struggling for existence for many births, one may take shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva Krishna. When this happens, one actually becomes wise and surrenders unto him. That is the only way to stop the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhakti Leela 19:151 in the instructions given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami at the Shastrameda Gata. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. The living entity wanders throughout different planets in different forms and bodies. But if by chance he comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, by the grace of the spiritual master, he receives Lord Krishna's shelter and his devotional life begins. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurunmedharayena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchākakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyarevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasani Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are seeing Lord Rishabhadeva's teachings to his 100 sons. So, in this, many of the shlokas are quite often chanted or cited by Srila Prabhupada. And this is a shloka which is not very often cited. So, but then it's in midst of this wonderful subject that is actually happening. So that is the futility of the material world and also the importance of Krishna consciousness is very nicely emphasized over here. So here we see that till the time the living entity is covered by the modes of material nature, so here specifically it is mentioned by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjected to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. So this can be, the overall picture can be easily understood by analyzing this example that Srila Prabhupada often used to say, that if we want to see ourselves, so we have to like seeing ourselves and seeing the sun. This is a very simple example Srila Prabhupada gives. So with that we can actually try to understand this shloka. So again, I'll just categorically or divided, we'll study this translation. When the living entity is covered by mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being. Right? So here in the example of sun and ourselves, so till the time like we are covered with darkness, we cannot see us and we cannot see the sun. And then the next line is, therefore until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, that is Rishabhadev, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept material body again and again. Right? So till the time one doesn't have love for Krishna or one doesn't awaken Krishna in his heart, so then he has to accept bodies again and again. So that means he's still there in the ignorance. So another aspect is mentioned. So till the time a living entity is in darkness, so then he cannot see him, he cannot see the Lord. And another aspect that is mentioned is the mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. Right? So that is equivalent to like whatever I can, till the time I am in darkness, whatever I can see through or see around is only darkness. I am not able to see anything. Any objects that are present. I am not able to see any of them. So in the same way, we will not be able to see, see ourselves or see the Lord, but we will only be able to see the fruitive activity, means any object that I see, the sign of darkness. What is the sign of darkness in this material world? So if I see any object and then I see that, this is capable of gratifying my senses, or this is a potential threat for my existence. So this kind of an thought process is coming. So then we should understand we are in darkness. Maybe our room is quite well lit, but still we are in darkness. So the dark. Shri Gandhar Giridhari Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Lakshmi Vishnu Bhagwan ki jai. So, our room may be well lit. We may be there under the daylight or in the midday sun and things like that. So, but still we are in darkness. The sign, here, we actually judge our, we are there in the light or darkness based on our visibility and the light around. So, in spiritual sense, we judge whether we are in darkness or light based on, if we are able to see something and then see that as an object of enjoyment, see that as something separate from me, and it can possibly harm me or it can possibly gratify me. So then that means darkness, right? And light means what? Everything is part and parcel of Krishna, and everything is meant to be used in service of Krishna. I myself am part and parcel of Krishna. I should be engaged in service of Krishna. So this means light. When this thing is practically a devotee is able to relate with this, by his own intuition. So then, he can understand that he has come to light. So it is not possible in general. So and how to understand this point? When the living entity is covered by mode of ignorance, that means if he is covered by mode of passion and goodness, then he is not subjected to fruitive activity. Yeah, ignorance is the base. Like if we make a cake, there is a base. On top of it, different kind of icing can be made. Like that, pizza base is there, and then उसमें अलग-अलग नाम देते हैं. So एक tire चिपकाते हैं, कुछ और चिपकाते हैं, and then it takes a different name. So the base, this one mode in this material world is ignorance. How can we justify this? What is the justification behind this? What is the ignorance that we have?
Things independent of Krishna.
Things independent of Krishna.
Yes, we don't know that we are our master. Krishna is our master, and we are thinking ourselves as our master and at the center.
Huh? They're thinking that they have this body.
So like you mentioned, seeing any object as a source of enjoyment or pleasure.
Yeah, so that is also there. So reality is we are part and parcel of Krishna. So if you are not able to understand that, that means ignorance only. You know. So we are in ignorance. So like this ignorance actually is further divided into like ignorance, passion, and goodness. Right. So the basic this one of everything is ignorance. So it's just like when we use this when the scriptures describe the lower planetary system, no? Like in Rudrasu's prayer, it comes like Rasadhipatyam. So when it comes Rasadhipatyam, so it doesn't mean that only Rasadali is talking about. No, he's talking about all the lower planetary systems. So he, this is also a way of utilize, mentioning a list of items. So the prominent of that list, if it is mentioned, that means it includes all the items of the list, right? So when it is talking about the mode of ignorance, it includes ignorance, passion, and goodness, all three of them, right? So so the next aspect that we saw is that like we will not be able to see ourselves, we will not be able to see the Lord. Both of them, we will not be able to see. And the corollary of that is, if we are able to see ourselves, that means we are also Krishna conscious. If we are able to see Krishna, that means we are able to see ourselves also. So it is simultaneous, right? So like it is, Srila Prabhupada writes a very nice statement. If somebody can take Nectar of Devotion ka introduction of preface, so there Prabhupada uses a very poetic line. He says that Krishna consciousness is that one switch which can, anybody remembers that line? Nectar of Devotion ka preface or introduction? No, he mentions. Krishna consciousness is that one switch, switching on that, like it illuminates everything everywhere. Something like that, Prabhupada writes. Very, very poetic statement he writes. So just one thing, it reveals Krishna also, it reveals oneself also, and it reveals, everything around, whatever is there. So everything becomes illuminated just by this one activity. And, here, Rishabhdev is very nicely telling. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than Rishabhdev himself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept material body again and again. Right? So in this one, the consciousness of the living entity in the material world is the grossest of the consciousnesses, the external bodily conscious, and then little more better consciousness is that he becomes he identifies himself with the mind or intelligence or ego, and then the real awakening of consciousness is he comes to the platform of understanding that he is the living entity. So in all these gradations, there is a progressive revelation of Krishna and there is a progressive understanding of oneself also, right? So if somebody is very grossly bodily conscious, that means he has very little Krishna consciousness. Still he has got Krishna consciousness, but very little Krishna consciousness. So that is so negligible. It is just like some DC current is there, somewhere you touch. Its current is there, but no, kuch fayda nahi hai. It doesn't even give you shock, right? So like that, very little Krishna consciousness. So, and then when it becomes a little more expanded, the consciousness becomes a little more expanded. So then, we start to understand that we are not this external body. We are something deeper. So then it goes to the level of mind and intelligence and things like that. And there are philosophies, which are in those platforms. There are different philosophies are there. So in fact, today's session was in the level 3. I was supposed to take different philosophies. So, but then Sunday speaker also they kept me, so we had to address both here. So so this different philosophies also come into existence based on the depth of revelation of Krishna and depth of understanding oneself. And yesterday Maharaj was mentioning a very amazing point. So he was mentioning that the very, very neophyte devotee in Krishna consciousness, so he has respect for two personalities. Who are the two personalities? Krishna and Guru. He has respect for these two personalities. And then when he advances a little bit more, so then he respects all the Vaishnavas. And then when he advances a little bit more, so then he respects all the living entities, not just Vaishnavas, all the living entities. So now Maharaj was telling a very nice point that more we advance, So more our horizon of giving respect increases, right? And less advanced we are, like no, we will be looking for how many people are respecting us. So like that. So this is a very amazing point that this is a sign of advancement. So this is all different angles in which, one of the angles that is mentioned here is, so when we are in the mode of ignorance or when we are controlled by the modes of material nature, so then we will have the fruitive activity or fruitive desire. Anything that we see, oh, this is meant for my enjoyment. That's how we will see. And this is another perspective which Maharaj gave. So when we are, in the path of liberation, so what is the sign? Anything that we see, oh, this is worthy of my respect. I can offer respect to this particular entity. Why? Because this is part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna likes this entity very much. So because of that, I can offer respect to this entity. So this, if this naturally comes, then we can understand, okay, we are progressing in the path of liberation. We are actually coming closer to Krishna, in that way. So these are all different, this ones. Like sometimes people have this sentiment that I am so much attached to Krishna, I cry for Krishna and I be with Krishna and things like that. Some kind of sentimental lessons are there. So, but then that is not really considered to be association with Krishna or getting closer to Krishna. So, the consideration is that all these qualities that has been illuminated, by the by Srimad Bhagavatam and by great devotees. So these we have to conform to these qualities. So then we can understand we are getting closer to Krishna, right? So that is one point we can actually see in this. So basically the symptoms of being getting closer to Krishna or getting away from Krishna. So these two things we saw. And purport, when the mind is polluted by fruitive activity, the living entity wants to be elevated from one material position to another. Right? So he just keeps juggling between one material position to another. And generally everyone is involved in working hard day and night to improve his economic condition. Even when one understands the Vedic rituals, he becomes interested in promotion to heavenly planets, not knowing one's real interest lies in returning home back to God. So here we see that everyone's mind, like in the material world, sometimes people think that by permutation and combination, maybe sometime we will become a devotee. Right? This activity we perform, that activity we perform. So one by one, different activities we perform, and one day we will perform devotional service also. That will not happen. So devotional service is beyond the modes of material nature, and the permutation and combination is going on under the purview of modes of material nature. And by permutation and combination of modes of material nature, we can never come to devotional service. That's a very important, this one, Siddhanta, we have to understand. Devotional service is beyond the modes of material nature. It can never happen within the modes of material nature. So, and this, the polluted minds which are afflicted by the modes of material nature, so they will come up with fruitive desires and they will result in fruitive activity. And if people are not very much aware of Vedic culture, so they will work hard and they will try to get sense gratification. If they are aware of Vedic culture, so still they will perform ritualistic ceremonies to go to heavenly planets. So whether somebody is pious or impious, whether somebody is accepting Vedic scriptures or not accepting Vedic scriptures, until unless he comes to the point of rendering devotional service to the Lord, he has to juggle around with the material options. Either in a pious way or in an impious way. So pious way means following the Vedic system and performing rituals and sacrifice, and then desiring for better progeny, better wealth, better destination, heavenly planets and things like that. If it is impious, chori daku karenge, paisa hi to chahiye, So we will kamaenge jaisa bhi, So we will earn in some way or another, and then we will satisfy, we'll get to better and better economic situation or existence. So in this way, the polluted mind, whether in the Vedic way or non-Vedic way, will look for some better position in the material existence, right? So then this point is nicely mentioned. Not knowing that one's real interest lies in returning home back to God. So this is also one very important, this one, a favorite section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad, who taught you devotional service? How did you, become a devotee? And Prahlad Maharaj's answer is not straightforward. Later on, his friends ask, that time what he says? Narasimuni taught me. So now, like the same thing father asks, he doesn't tell the right answer. he tells philosophically the right answer, but historically he doesn't tell the right answer. So like philosophically he says that, what is the first thing that he says? It's a very important section. All of us should memorize this section actually. 3 shlokas, very, very important shlokas, in the response to Hiranyakashipu's question. Anybody knows the first shloka? No, not. That is the answer when.
What is the best thing?
Yeah. So what's the best thing you have learned? So there are 3. This ones are there. One is first time Hiranyakashipu asked, "What is the best thing that you have learned?" And Prahlad Maharaj gives to this one that you should go to the forest and take vanaprastha and things like that, and fully focus on Krishna. And second time when Hiranyakashipu asks, what is the best thing that you have learned? So now with bhakti. And after that, he chastises the teachers. And the teachers say that, we have not taught all these things. This guy is naturally a devotee, kuch to aur source hai. We are not the culprits, So then after they establish that, so then Hiranyakashipu turns to Prahlad and asks, if these people have not taught you, from where you have got this Krishna consciousness? And that time Prahlad tells these 3 shlokas, very important shlokas. So, no. Huh? That is the second shloka. First is Matirna Krishna Parata Swatova. Right? So, like Matirna Krishna Parata Swatova, so somewhat similar to what is mentioned in today's this one. So, Matirna Krishna, mind will not get absorbed in thoughts of Lord, or it will not even think about the Lord. By Parataha and Swataha. By external influence or one's own endeavor. आप जितना भी सर्कस करो, Krishna conscious नहीं बन सकते. And if somebody else is trying to make us Krishna conscious, it cannot be possibly, it can happen. Right? So Matirna Krishna Parata Swatova Mito Vipatyeta Griha Vratanam. So one for a person who is Griha Vrata. For a person who has taken this one that sense gratification is my life and soul. I am unalloyed devotee of sense gratification. I will not do anything else apart from sense gratification. Right? So somebody who is a Griha like that, for him, Matirna Krishna, he himself tries, I'm what is that? I am an unalloyed devotee of sense gratification, but sometimes I want to think Krishna, but it's not possible. So he's not able to think of Krishna. And then others also trying to invest so much of energy on him, kuch fayda nahi. So like that. So, and then they will, Mito Vipatya Deha Utana, Adanta Gope, Vishatham Kamishram, Puna Charvata Charvanana. So these people will do this Puna Charvata Charvanana. So they will try to, how many other times they go down and come up. So they will again and again, they will try to make their economical situation better and better, and then try to enjoy this material world very nicely. Right? So they cannot come to this one. So basically, Prahlad Maharaj is telling, my father, you are asking how this Krishna consciousness originated in me. So you cannot even understand the ABCD of this. You are Grihavatar. How can I start explaining this thing to you? Right? It is not possible for you, right, to understand. So then, next sloka, Nate Vidu Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnu. So that is what Prabhupada is writing here. Not knowing one's real interest lies in returning home back to Godhead. So these people, who are Grihavatas and who are chewing the chewed again and again. So for them, te means like these people. So na te vidu, is to know. Swartha Gati. Swartha is one's own self-interest. Lies in Vishnu, Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnu. So they don't understand their real self-interest lies in Vishnu. And what do? Nate Vidu Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnu, Durasaya, Ye Bahirata Manina. So because of bad interest or because of Durasaya, because of bad interest, Bahirata Manina. So the goal of life lies somewhere outside. I have to get a good job, or I have to make I have to show myself something better in this world, in the scriptures we see like the devotees pray that Dana Kaprishtam Nachaparam Ishtam Na Sarvabhauma. I don't want heavenly planets, I don't want like what is that, Brahma's position, I don't want Indra's position. So when we recite these shlokas, like the people also say, yeah, I also don't want these things. So but then for them the shloka has to be translated in different way. You know, I don't want promotion, I don't want hike, no, I don't want a better job. No, if it takes me away from you, Krishna. So then it makes sense. Oh, like no, this is what it means. I didn't know this. Right? So like anyways, so the Swarthagati, like Swarthagatim hi Vishnu and Durashaya ye Bahirarthamanina. So they think that something external is going to make me happy. No, whereas the thing that is going to make me happy is Krishna and association with Krishna, and that Krishna is there, you know, as Paramatma in the heart, right? So it's just a matter of connection. And so the connection is lost, and it's just a matter of connection, then I'll be satisfied. So, but then leaving aside that, you know, I'm trying to like get something external to make me satisfied, right? So that is Bahirartha Mahina, Anta Ekante, Paniyamana, Devishtantra, Urudhamni Gota. So like following the general mass of people, like you know, everybody are going towards the hellish existence, and you know, like it's just a herd mentality. So everybody in the material world, they just go behind this particular this one. So then the next shloka he mentions Sparshasthanardhapagamo yadatta mahiyasham padarjobhishekam nishkinchananam nabrinitayam. So until unless one willingly, you know, he has to develop a desire that I want to get out of this, you know, clutches of material existence, and that itself is a great mercy upon him, like by the Lord. So if he comes to that state of existence, and then he should be eager to like you know, get the dust off the lotus feet of the great devotees. And then in this particular shloka it is mentioned Mahiyasham Pada Raja Abhishekam, you know, like the great personalities like take bath with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees. So like here Prahlad Maharaj is not telling like, you know, I got the mercy of Narad Muni. He is technically telling, you know, so one who has received like the mercy of a great devotee, he can understand Krishna consciousness. You know? So it is not that no, he has to finish big volumes of books. After finishing this many books, he'll become Krishna conscious. So what is this one like opposite of that? Like any shloka you remember? No, Bahuna Shutena. What is that? Prabhupada often quotes this. Nayam Atmana Balahin Labhyate, like that. So by physical strength you cannot get, by extensive study you cannot get, by eloquent recitation of Vedic scriptures you cannot get the Supreme Lord. Only when He wants, only when He becomes pleased upon you and He wants to reveal unto you, then you can understand Him, right? So, and one of the aspects is like accepting a spiritual master and rendering service to him, and then by pleasing him, so one becomes like one actually gets the understanding of Krishna consciousness. No, otherwise it is Krishna consciousness is just a concept. No, he cannot understand it by any other conventional or like this is non-conventional. So conventional method is to accept a spiritual master and pleasing him and like getting the revelation, right? So non-conventional method is what we are doing, what we call it as conventional, going to school, studying, studying the books and trying to assimilate knowledge through these means, right? So that is not the way of understanding Krishna consciousness, or in fact understanding any knowledge for that matter. So here we see that the next thing that is mentioned is not knowing the real interest lies in returning home back to Godhead. By acting on the platform of fruitive activity, one wanders throughout the universe in different species and forms. Unless he comes in contact with a devotee of the Lord, a guru, he does not become attached to the service of Lord Vasudeva, right? So, it is this point that we were discussing. Prabhupada is mentioning here that unless one pleases a devotee, it is not possible for him to get Krishna consciousness, because Krishna consciousness is a process that comes from heart to heart. a heart of a devotee which is fertile in Krishna consciousness, by his blessings we can also get Krishna consciousness, right? So as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, okay, so this before that he does not become attached to the service of Lord Vasudeva, and the knowledge of Vasudeva requires many births to understand, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So it's very, very rare, coming to the point of understanding like Vasudeva Sarvamiti or Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sometimes, like when devotees have strained relationship with other devotees, right? So like, why this devotee is like this? Why this person is so rude? Or why he's behaving in this way and things like that. So we should read the statement Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So like, and we should also go out and see and try to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. And not many people are there ready to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here is a devotee who has accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's a Mahatma. He's a great person. So in that sense, like he's a very, very great person. It is maybe because of his past material conditioning. His quality is like little bit difficult to put up with. But then internally, as a soul, like he is developing attachment to Krishna. So that is an amazing thing, right? So that is something to be appreciated. So that is why Krishna also mentions this apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabha. So like somebody has become a devotee, but still he has bad qualities, means his past conditioning is not washed away, but still he is trying to practice devotional service. So this is a very nice combination. Like everybody will have to go through this combination, because right at the beginning, all the material conditionings cannot be washed away. So it takes time. Gradually it actually gets washed away. And meanwhile, we have to put up with that devotee and then somehow or other adjust in this one. So sometimes devotees also ask, Prabhu, this devotee is doing like this, how can he be a devotee? How can devotee do like this? So that means it's very less understanding of devotional service. It is just equivalent to asking, this person is there in the hospital, how can he be kafi? And hospital में आया तो अच्छा है, थोड़े दिन में ठीक हो जाएगा. नहीं, how can he be a patient if he is coughing? It's like in that way, we see that how can he be a devotee? Devotee means a practicing devotee. So there is Kanishta Adhikari is there, and Madhyam Adhikari is there, and Uttam Adhikari is there, and everybody are labeled same way as devotee. How can he be a devotee? And a person points to a sincere practitioner, but he has some difficulties, and we point him and then say how can he be a devotee? He is behaving in this way, right? So he's trying his best to practice, and maybe he's having some material attachments, but he is practicing. That's something to be appreciated. And we have to, only way to sustain in the association of devotees is to tolerate the behavior of other devotees, right? So that's the only way. So the other choice that we have is okay, this devotee is so intolerable, I'll go out, and the material nature may offer initially nice offers. You see this is well-behaved person in the material world, right? So he is a materialist, but he has got very nice quality. He's so peaceful, he's got so nice qualities. And then you can be there, for lifetime after lifetime. So there is no concept of liberation over there, right? And after some time, the material nature also will put us with some difficult people, right? So in this way, this is very important thing to understand and meditate upon. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Somebody who is accepting Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, not even getting to the level of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So just even accepting Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's really very great, So such people are devotees, maybe a Kanishta Adhikari, but still he is a devotee, And serving him or getting his association is also that an association or community having such people is also quite an amazing thing. So this is one concept, which is difficult to understand, or maybe easy to understand but difficult to practice, that devotees can commit mistake, So that's a very difficult thing to digest, when that mistake actually happens in relation to us, then it's very, very difficult to digest. How can devotee do this thing? The devotee can do anything. Right? So that's one thing that we have to see. And this is in the sense of how we see other devotees and how we see ourselves Prabhu, after all, I am also a practicing devotee, I can commit mistake. No? So this is the right attitude for myself? No. So for myself, oh, like I am a devotee, like how can I do like this? Right? So like that, no, I should have that attitude. And for others, okay, like no, he's a devotee, he's trying his best, but his material conditionings are there, like that he's struggling with. Right? And then if we are taking a leadership position, so wherein people are accepting us as a mentor, like who's who's given charge of guiding. So then we have this one that okay, so we can actually try to guide them. See, like no, these are all your weak aspects. No, these are all aspects where you are more prone to the material ways of dealing. So try to be very cautious with these things and try to increase your Krishna consciousness in these ways, right? So in that way, like the guidance can be offered. Like so, this is the way in which this weakness that every one of us possesses has to be dealt with. In regard to ourselves, in regard to other people, and when we like other people in general, and then in regard to like if we are going to guide somebody, right? So these are the different ways that we can actually see that. And then after struggling for existence, for many birds, one may take shelter in the lotus feet of Krishna or Vasudeva, and when this happens, one actually becomes wise and surrenders unto him. This is the only way to stop the repetition of birth and death, and this is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanji. It's very, very fortunate soul. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. Right? So, who is a fortunate person for whom the Bhakti Lata has grown and then it is bearing fruits? He is a fortunate person? No. So for a person who has got the seed of the Bhakti, no, he is also a fortunate person, right? So that is the thing that is mentioned. Like even when this one Burijan Prabhu came, so he was telling that what if you can do, you should consider yourself fortunate. If you can hear one mantra starting from Hare, you should consider yourself to be fortunate. So it's like it's in line with the scriptures. So if we can even come to the point of attentive listening to even a little bit, so that is why it is mentioned Svalpamapi asa dharmasya, and then like even a slight trace of Krishna consciousness, prasada leshan vrihi. So like this, everywhere it is mentioned slight trace, even a slight bit of Krishna consciousness can create so much of effect. The problem is we are not able to even do slight. So whole chanting we can do completely distracted and we are peaceful. And we are completely peaceful. And like even once if we hear properly, even not like all 16 rounds or even one whole round, even slightly, even for some time also, if you are able to hear the Mahamantra properly, we cannot imagine the kind of bliss that we will experience, right? So, and all of you might have gone through that experience, like at least धोती कुर्ता तक आए तो like कम से कम एक बार तो रस टेस्ट किए होंगे. So like so like at least one time at least you would have heard properly in some distress or in some this one like we would have chanted nicely. So that repetition has to happen, and more we should become more and more fortunate by hearing the names of the Lord nicely. And the living entity wanders throughout different planets in different forms and bodies, but if by chance comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master, by the grace of spiritual master, he receives Lord Krishna's shelter and his devotional life begins. Right? So, in this connection, I just would like to glorify Narottam Das Thakur, just one or two instances. So, like this one that we are able to study Srimad Bhagavatam now is because of the devotees like Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya and Shaman Pandit. So like these great personalities, like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's work, there are two important like aspects are there. So one aspect is the aspect of the content of intense devotional service, and another aspect is the distribution of this devotional service, right? So the first phase of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, if you see, like he himself was demonstrating this whole practice of Krishna consciousness, and then he ordered his immediate disciples like to write these literatures, technically and profusely write these literatures. And then the second wave that came is that to practice this very intensely and then to distribute. So this distribution was not much part of in the beginning, this one. So like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated, like he practiced intensely and also he distributed. So but then, and Nityananda Prabhu, he widely distributed this Krishna consciousness. So but then the next generation, immediate next generation if we see, so like that is the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they were not much engaged in distribution of these literatures because they were specifically ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to reside in Vrindavan and to write. And Srila Prabhupada actually tells that to reside in Vrindavan means to work extra hours, to work overtime. So the Goswamis of Vrindavan, so they were not sleeping, they were not like having too much of luxurious eating and things like that. So they were like fully focused on writing literatures, writing literatures and so much, like we see that in the Nectar of Instruction, the photo of Rupa Goswami, he's writing and then there is no end to the paper that is going on. That's an amazing artwork actually. So it's like huge, like they were writing profusely actually. And then the next generation that came is the generation of distribution, right? So Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya and Shyamanand Pandit, they were nicely educated under Jiva Goswami and then they were sent out for distribution of these literatures. And then we can actually, whenever we read these literatures, we can actually be very grateful to these personalities. Without them, all of us know that at one point in time, all these literatures, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's accounts and then all the writings of the Goswamis, everything was stolen. And if that were stolen for good, then no basis of Krishna consciousness. Books are the basis. There is no basis of Krishna consciousness. We can never imagine of sitting and studying Srimad Bhagavatam like this, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam like this. And these are the devotees who actually protected these literatures and distributed them. And one important thing we can derive from this is that every generation has to practice this Krishna consciousness, and then they have to pass it on. They have to distribute. So both the things has to happen. If they only practice, so then the next generation will not get. If they only distribute, content only is not there. Rest of the next generation will not get anything, right? So this practice and distribution is a very important thing. At every generation, the devotees have to practice and then distribute. So then these two things are there in a right way. So then the legacy is carried forward. So if any one of them is lacked, then the next generation doesn't get whatever is needed actually. And so with this, I just pause today's discussion. Any questions or comments? Okay. Yes, please.
This you were mentioning very nicely, the shlokas of Prahlad. So in that first shloka, you are mentioning not by others, not by others. So here because we hear of that Sukriti is also accommodated by coming in touch with devotees. So this Bharata it doesn't refer to
Devotees, yeah. It refers to anything apart from the practice of Krishna consciousness, that is coming in touch with one of its spiritual master and this one. So trying to exercise things within the modes of material nature, by my own endeavor or by the endeavor of somebody else, right? So like that. And also another important aspect is the Graha Vrata, a person who is determined to be a sense gratifier, right? So for him, it's quite difficult. All the things are negative. Right?
Even if he is in association of devotees,
Association of devotees, it is not considered something which is there in the modes of material nature, and something that he can get by the modes of material nature. So like that, it is the Parata and Swata doesn't involve the contact with the material devotional service.
Thank you for the class. I especially like this analogy of sun, that when sun is there, then automatically you get to see yourself and the things around and sun as well. Prabhuji, in that translation, it said that love until one has developed love, there is no chance of going back to Godhead. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Bhagwananam Janmanamante, Gyanamanam Prapadyate, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that on an average generally it takes 3 lifetimes to go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada says 1 lifetime, that's it. So, I mean, which regime are we following? I mean,
Everybody follows their own regime and they get their own results actually. So it is mentioned like these are all like what is that, the quotations. It has context behind it. So the context is that if somebody is practicing devotional service, practicing okay, like let's come this way. This is analyzed by Vidwan Parama Prabhu from the teachings of Baldev Vidyabhushan. So like this, somebody is living a sinless life. That means he is following the Vedic process of Varnashrama Dharma. So that is called as a sinless life. If somebody is living a sinless life and then he has desire for liberation and he has desire for sense gratification, then he will take many lifetimes to go back to Godhead. And then if somebody has lives a sinless life and he gives up desire for sense gratification, but he has desire for liberation, right? And he practices devotional service, he will like take one lifetime or few lifetimes. It takes for him to perfect his life. So and then like a person is living a sinless life and he gives up desire for sense gratification, gives up desire for liberation, and then he practices devotional service very intensely. So then either he can, if he practices devotional service very intensely only for pleasure of Krishna, whatever he does, he does. So that means he is liberated even then. Jivan Mukta se uchate, like they say, right? Like he's already living in the spiritual world, only change of body is needed. It's like somebody has got an offer letter, like job pe lag gaya, like office jana baki hai. So like that. So it is when Prabhupada is saying that you will go back to Godhead in this very lifetime. So that means he is expecting you to give up the sense gratification, give up desire for liberation, and give up desire for any siddhis and things like that, and then work only for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So if he does that, if somebody does that, like usko to ticket ban gaya, he's going back to Godhead. So only thing that is going to pull us and keep us back in this world is desire for sense gratification. Bhukti mukti sprihaya pishachi hridi vartate. Naito, like it is mentioned that bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta. So this is the thing which is going to hold us back. Krishna bhakta nishkama atayeva shanta. So one whose desire is only to please Guru and Krishna. So for him there is no place in this material world. He can go back to spiritual world.
Is the difference between second and third? So it may take a few lifetimes. Which cases? How is it different from the third one? You mentioned something.
It's the in a generic form. Attachment, degree of attachment to sense gratification, degree of attachment to liberation is the problem. It is the delaying factor for us to go back to God. So to which degree it is there, it determines that many lifetimes. So if we can successfully get out of these two things, jnana karmadi anavritam. So the resultant of jnana is that desire for liberation, and the resultant of karma is desire for sense gratification. And these are the two things which is going to pull us and catch us in the material world. And jnana karmadi anavritam, uncovered by jnana and karma. So then, a devotee's his path is very nice to go back to God. So the acharyas give different this one. So like in a generic way, if you want to understand, so this is the thing. Like how much degree we are affected, that much delay. Yes.
I had two questions. One was the day we do fast session. You nicely explained that we don't have to look out for Krishna or real self interest. It's just a matter of connection. We develop this with the soul and then we can. So often at times, very practically, we get into a lot of passion and ignorance, and we lose that connection. We develop it with the soul. So how we can ensure that we don't lose that connection? That's one question. And second, talking about the dust of lotus feet of your devotee. So does this mean the literal dust from the lotus feet of devotees, or it's like following their instructions, just like the Lama following our
So this, the first question is about the connection. So first of all, we are disconnected and we are trying to establish the connection, and the connection is that is what is called as a yoga, right? So yoga means connection, and here a nice word is used, deha yogena. That means tightly bound to the consciousness of bodily consciousness. That is called deha yoga. And then consciousness of Krishna is called Bhakti Yoga, right? So, or Krishna Yoga, like that. So, in connection with Krishna. So now we are trying to establish connection with Krishna. So, and that connection is not going to be natural and spontaneous in the beginning. So, it is going to be mechanical. So, that is called the Vidhi Purvaka Bhakti. So, Vayadi Bhakti. So, wherein now, if we can do the aspect of what is a sadhana that is prescribed for us. Item by item. That's generic. Item by item for us prescribed sadhana. Prabhupada chanting 16 rounds for 11 principles. Actually, in fact, Prabhupada's sadhana program, like when he actually put it down, like Mangalarti and then chanting, then this one Guru Puja and Bhagavatam. And then going out in the streets and Kirtan, and then coming back and attending Sandhya Arati, and then reading Krishna book and sleeping. So, prasadam also. So, miss again, sorry. So, okay, basically speaking, that sadhana means, like somehow or other, we should expertly arrange throughout the day, we are going to do devotional service and nothing else. Okay, if somebody is not able to practice this, the next thing is, so they're going to work outside, okay, the work has to be seen as devotional service. So how this work can be seen as devotional service? All the produce of the work is effectively utilized in devotional service, right? So then it is called devotional service. And then maintaining the family, like if we are encouraging everybody to practice Krishna consciousness and facilitating in that way, and then seeing the house as a temple, and keeping the Lord as the center and worshipping Him, and then inviting devotees home and serving the devotees and holding Sankirtan and Bhagavatam and things like that in the homes. So then it becomes like, I'm conducting Bhakti Vriksha programs at homes. That's nice. So in this way, like what happens is, in the sadhana means like somehow or other we have to mold our life in such a way that we are not able to be spontaneously Krishna conscious, but we have to be planned Krishna conscious throughout the day, right? So if we are planned Krishna conscious throughout the day, so then we can expect to be spontaneously Krishna conscious at some point in time. So, but in the planned this one, there is some gaps. Whereas this particular activity is not Krishna conscious directly, and it is not Krishna consciousness indirectly also. That means the produce of that activity I am not utilizing in Krishna's service. So then that becomes a block, and to that extent our becoming spontaneous devotee becomes delayed. Our connection, the actual spontaneous connection with Krishna becomes delayed. Right? So all of us are trying to mold ourselves in such a way that Brahmachari is trying to mold himself in such a way that throughout the day, he does Krishna conscious only. And Grahastha is also trying to mold himself in such a way that throughout the day, I have to do Krishna consciousness only, right? So how I justify this particular activity is Krishna conscious. For that, I have to contemplate, okay, if there is something that is not Krishna conscious about this, so how can I do it in the Krishna conscious way, right? So we should try to take guidance in that way. So then our sadhana is complete. Sadhana is not just reading, hearing and chanting. Sadhana is 24/7, right? So anywhere, any gap, it's a problem. So it's going to affect our development of Krishna consciousness in the longer run, right? So connection is going to be mechanical and planned in the beginning, and it will evolve to be spontaneous in the later on. And this Mahiyasam Pada Rajobhishekam, Prahlad Maharaj, who is speaking, he himself did not get the physical dust. He got the instructions, right? So if we can get physically the dust of the lotus feet of spiritual master, has to be done with the mood of service, and it should be pleasing to the spiritual master also, right? So otherwise, नरक में जाएंगे, डस्ट मिल जाएगा बट नरक में जाएंगे. So, and the literal thing is that, no, I am a servant of my spiritual master, and like I want to render service, taking the instruction of my spiritual master and render service and please him, right? So if you can do that, so then that is very nice. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the session, Prabhu. In middle of your session, you have explained we should not think of Brahma's position or Indra's position, and you further extended in material nature. It should be we should not think of our positions like heights and all. So a person who has the dependence on him, some family he has, and he has to work for them at least. So how he can start in this nature? How he can start? What is the best way to at least start in this devotional?
So this is actually, in fact, a very advanced stage of devotional service, and also it has another class in it. So, if you see in this prayer, Nana Kaprishtam, Nachakarameshtam, Na Sarvabhaumam, Na Rasadhipatyam, Na Yoga Siddhar, Apunar Bhavamba, Samanjasa, Tva Virahayakamsha, right? So, this says that if I will be separated from you, if I get this benefit, and if I separated from you because of that, then I don't want these things. So in the same way, like a person who is actually struggling to maintain a family, he is trying for a better job. He should definitely try, and he may pray for that also. And then he will additionally pray, if he's a sincere devotee, he will additionally pray that if I can get this kind of a job, it's very nice, I can maintain my family. But then if it is going to take me away from you, Krishna, please don't give me. Like that. So then Krishna becomes all the more merciful to that living entity, right? So he is so much interested in me, and Krishna will take it upon himself, right? So everybody is surviving, and my devotee doesn't survive, means mera badnaam hota hai. So then when the devotee gives up, actually there are two ones are there. We are the servant, and Krishna is the master. So what is the role of a servant? Role of a servant is to please the master. And what is the role of a master? The role of a master is to take care of the servant. When the servant becomes too much obsessed with how I will be taken care of, then the master says, okay, anyway he's thinking about how he should take care of himself. So मैं relax कर सकता हूँ, इतना ज़्यादा tension नहीं, वैसा service भी नहीं करता है. So then it becomes a problem, right? So but then when we say that Krishna, I am your servant, some things to survive, these are some things practical I am seeing. If you wish, you give me, and if you think that after getting it also I will be your devotee, so then you give me. Otherwise, you are my master, it is your job to take care of me. Why should I take too much tension about it? I'll just focus upon your service, and it is your tension. The people will tell you only, itna acha Bhagwan hai, unka devotee ko kuch nahi dete. So ये आपका, it is a problem of your name, You protect your name. I'll protect my name as a devotee. You protect your name as a maintenance. अपना काम देखेंगे. Right? So then the Lord is, he's flawless. He's flawless. He will take care of his duty very nicely. Right? Like that. Thanks. Yes, Mom.
You were telling that we have to practice devotional service nicely, and also we have to distribute also. So generally in our case, suppose we like reciting slokas or reading books or practicing, so we will do it naturally. But when it comes to distribution, so that time it becomes it can be other way around also for some cases, we are very eager to distribute, but when it comes to practice, then we become so how we can actually balance both of them?
Yeah, by understanding the importance, whatever our nature facilitates, we will be enthusiastic. If you are a very good salesman, we will be enthusiastic for distribution. If you are a very nice speaker, then we will be enthusiastic for distribution more, right? And if we are a little bit introvert, then no, Koji, I am very good in this one, studying and reciting and things like that and all, right? So introvert person, he has to crush his ego by going out, and he should study also. And then an extrovert person should also invest in his study, right? So invest in his personal cultivation. So anywhere these two things are slackened, distribution and practice, like any one of them also slackened, the product, or the substance becomes slackened actually. We cannot manifest Krishna as he is, and then we cannot distribute Krishna also. We will not be benefited ourselves, we will not benefit others. So without distribution, Krishna consciousness will remain kacha. It will not. Without preaching, Krishna consciousness will remain kacha. And only preaching without practice, there is no kacha bhi nahi hai. Khali bottle में distribute हो रहा है, पानी भी नहीं है. So, okay. So we will stop here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय और भक्तवृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. So we can give the gifts. Anybody who has come for the first time to our center? Okay, very nice. So we have a small gift for you. You can please come up here. Okay. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Huh? You also coming for the first time? Yeah. True? Oh, it's there here. Please. Two of you are there. So we will sing Nashimati now and then go for Prasad.
Hare Krishna. We'll thank Harikshetra Prabhuji for his wonderful class. Right from inspiration from the class of Lal Maharaj, the instructions how we are developing and we are graduating in Krishna consciousness, and the attitude and the qualification for the coming to the level of spiritual. So we'll thank him with the loud chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
जय जय श्री भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक लक्ष्मी शिव देव भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री श्री गांधर्व कंगरीधारी श्रीमान महाप्रभु की जय, श्री श्री पंच तत्व की जय, निताय गौर सुंदर की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. So devotees can take darshan and